Okay. Did most of you get through all the questions, or there's still thumbs up if you got through all the questions, thumbs down if you didn't get through all the questions? Okay. Monica didn't get through all the questions. Brenda, you did? Okay. If you didn't get through all the questions, it's okay. I'm going to send you this PowerPoint deck, this deck eventually, and you'll have these questions, but you're welcome to write them down, and you can always ask them at a different point when you feel connected to your intuition, when you feel connected to source energy, or whatever you do for your process. I like doing a process like this right after I meditate in the morning, because when I meditate, I connect with source. I have a meditation process that I do every morning, and it really allows me to drop into my heart. And those are the moments when I'm most open to the intuitive wisdom that is me and the universe, right? It's when I feel most connected to the universe and this source energy. So the answers just flow. You can also ask these questions when you're in a space of flow, like when you're in a space of feeling like you're in alignment, right? We've all had those moments where things are just happening for us, and it feels like we're in this flow, and the right person shows up, or we end up on a street that has a meaning to us, or these coincidences, right? Or we meet somebody who has something we've been wanting to call in. So when you're in flow with life, a great time also to ask these questions, right? To stop and take time doing this intuitive exercise. Okay, I'm going to let everybody in that's in the wave. That's where rejoining us. I'm going to start with a little summary of what we've been doing in part one. So summary from part one of the Activated Latina. We talked about being work, right? Who do you get to be to reach your goal? We talked about be, do, have, and the importance of understanding be, do, have right now in your life, because be, do, have says everything starts with one being. Everything starts with what's happening in here and in here. My thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs, my intentions, my frequency of vibration, which I control or I have agency over. Therefore, even though it feels like I'm really out of control right now, because our community is under attack, the economy feels like who knows what's going to happen. All these other countries are hating us because of policies and tariffs. Even though it feels like there's a lot of things out of our control, we, I, you, control, manage, have agency over what's happening internally. And if everything happens from a direct reaction to what's happening internally, right? If everything outside of me is what I choose to focus on, what I choose to put my attention towards, my perspective, my beliefs, then I have a say in the outcome in my life. That's the big shift from life is happening to me to, no, I'm actually creating my life. We talked a little bit about quantum physics, and that science has now proven this, right? That you create where the particles end up coming together and becoming real, quote unquote real in the physical sense, that you have a say in that. It doesn't just happen outside of you. So really powerful shift. You also learned a process called Remember the Feeling. You learned a process to connect with your intuition, to calm yourself down, to bring yourself to center, and also to activate the feeling that you want from the goal. So we can tap into that feeling now before we even need to reach the goal, right? Why do we have the goal? How do we be the person who's already achieved the goal? Yes, we be that person by tapping into that feeling now. So you learn to tap into your intuition. This is some of what we covered in part one. We did a deeper dive into you gaining clarity on your goal and learning to calling calmness. Yes. I'll just say one last thing from the summary of part one, and then we're going to move to what we're going to do in part two, what we're going to move forward today. One more thing about part one, two things I'll share about part one is the most important part with developing your plan for clarity. You know how you have a plan now, right? You have your goal that's measurable. You have who you need to be to reach that goal. The thoughts, feelings, beliefs, yeah. And you have at least 3 do's, right, for the doing part. And then the have is the result. The have is your goal. Yeah. Really important is to focus. Focus. Majority of people don't reach their goal because of lack of focus. We get distracted very easily. There's a million things going on in the world. We get distracted with all those other things and don't focus on our goal. Unless those other things that we're getting distracted to are part of our goal, are aligned in our goal, are aligned in our mission. But people lose way too much. It's not that they lose attention towards their goal. They never built a relationship with their goal to begin with. If you really want to hit a goal, and I'll put myself for this. Maybe I'll even record myself saying this because this is super important. Okay. If you really want to hit a goal, if you're serious and you're committed, it requires you to have built a relationship with that goal. That goal needs to be like your best friend, where you just know it inside and out. You have it very close to your heart, where if I asked you what's your goal, you're like, boom, boom, boom. My goal is, like I had a goal for this training. I wanted 60 women registered. We got over 100 people registered, which is great, yay. But I was very clear. I was very clear and concise. You want it right here. You want your goal to be something that is like you say your name. That kind of a relationship. You know the relationship you have with your name where it feels deeply connected to you? Feels like, oh, this is a part of who I am. That's how you actually reach goals. So one of the things that you may notice is like, oh crap, but that means I can't have like 5,000 names. Yeah, you can't have 5,000 goals. Not gonna happen. You're not gonna reach them. Not if you actually want to reach them. 1, 2, 3 goals. And then we work our butts off to reach that 1 goal or those 2 goals. Constraint in your goals, right? Because if you're going to build that type of relationship with it, like it's your best friend, you don't have 10 best friends. I don't know, maybe you do, but you know, for the most part, we have 1, 2, 3, right? You see the relationship with your goals, what starts to happen, how you start to build a relationship with your goals, how you start to get clarity around what are you really committed to. Okay. I'm going to share what we're going to do next in part 2. This is a summary from part 1. We're starting to tap into your intuition. You learned to remember the feeling. Yes. If you didn't get through all the questions that I had before, it's okay. We're going to send you a copy of this deck. And if you wrote the questions down, I said this at the beginning when we got back from lunch, please feel free to answer those questions anytime. When you feel connected to source, when you're in nature, whenever, right? You could take those same questions and ask them once a month, whenever you want. All right, let's talk about what we're going to do now in the Activated Latino, what we're going to do for this afternoon. We're going to talk about your brain. I use brain and nervous system interchangeably. So just know when I'm talking about your brain, I'm really talking about the whole nervous system. 2, we're going to talk about infinite possibilities because now you know what's possible for you in the quantum field. And this has been scientifically proven, okay? We're going to talk about confidence, which is that 3rd C, right? Building your confidence. We're going to talk about solidifying your clarity, calm, or centeredness, and confident toolbox. What are the tools? So when you walk out of here today, you have this mini toolbox that is rooted in these tools that work for you. One of the tools that you can use for calmness, for example, is this remember the feeling. You can also use this tool for confidence if you want, for calm, for confidence, right? The question, the series of questions that I ask you, like, what is my body trying to tell me? What would it be like if there was no fear in reaching this goal, right? Those questions are also about connecting with your intuition, which also helps you with clarity and calmness and confidence. So you can use that in your toolbox also. And then I'm going to end with live coaching, meaning this just means me asking you questions about your goal so that I can give you really good feedback and strategy on how to reach your goal, right? We're also going to talk about inspired action and my mastermind called the Get It Done Mastermind. So I'm going to give you a link at the end to schedule a call with me if you'd like to talk with me about joining Inspired Action or coming back into Inspired Action or coming into the mastermind, which is this next level up. The doors are currently open for the mastermind. We'll talk about that at the end. I'm just going to plant this seed again. None of this matters unless you're practicing it. So all of this is great information. Yay. It is valuable. I mean, you got to know stuff first, but we live in the information era. There's a lot of information. I think we have too much information. Actually, we get like overwhelmed with too much information, right? That's part of why I want you to narrow things down to like one statement, one way of being. What really matters is what you do with this information and how this affects you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in your life, right? What really matters is if you take action. And a container is what supports you in doing that, like a coaching container, a group container, a mastermind container actually helps you reach that. All right, that's what we're going to do for the rest of this afternoon. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, thank you, Manuela, for putting the questions in the chat so everybody can copy them. Yes, copy paste the questions into whatever you use as your, whatever you use. Okay, let's get moving then. Dun, dun, dun. This may be news to some of you. Your brain is trying to sabotage you. Raise your hand if you already know this. Your brain is trying to sabotage you. Yes. The brain is actually trying to stop you from reaching your goal. Actively trying to stop you from reaching your goal. What are all the ways in which your brain tried to sabotage you today? Let's just look at today. What are the ways in which your brain tried to stop you from showing up here today, or maybe staying here today, or taking notes, or asking questions? Who wants to share as I look at all of you? This is good because you're calling out your brain, and this is part of you realizing, oh, I'm not my brain. You're not your brain. Yes, Marta, how did your brain try to stop you today?
It was creating all these excuses, saying it's Saturday, it's Sunday. Oh my gosh, it's how many hours? I could be resting. I could be doing something else.
Yes. Good awareness, right? Good awareness that your brain is like, the brain is the best excuse maker ever. Yes. It'll come up with 100 different reasons. It's Sunday. I should be resting. This is a freaking 5-hour training. This is crazy. I know a lot of people were like, well, it's being recorded. So we'll see, you know, it is being recorded, right, guys? Okay. Well, we'll watch the recording later. Well, you guys know, you probably have a list of recordings you haven't watched from other trainings some trainings you even paid for and you still haven't watched them, right? Because when are you going to watch them? But it's commitment, right? It's how do we manage our brain? Who else has a good one from today that your brain tried to stop you or sabotage you, or maybe even right now during lunch was like, yeah, let's not go back, which is okay. Oh, it's a beautiful day, Manuela says, and my family wanted me to go to the beach. Oh, she turned down the beach for us. Oh, thank you, Manuela. And we're worth it. We're worth it. Yeah, because the beach is amazing and beautiful. This reminder of these tools and this ability to practice this is rare. I wish it wasn't so rare. I wish we could be in this space every other day because the brain is so powerful. It's stopping us every hour on the hour, right? You need like a reminder every hour on the hour of like, oh yeah, this is who I really am. Yeah, come back to center. It's so powerful. Yeah. So your brain is constantly trying to stop you. It's like a 6-year-old. It just wants what it wants. It doesn't actually have any ill intentions. It just has different goals than your spirit, than your source energy, than who you really are. It's different goals. What do you think the goal of the brain is? Brenda? Yeah.
It's to keep you safe.
It's to keep you safe. What does it interpret safety as? Because it has a unique interpretation of what safety means.
Being comfortable, everything stay the same.
Yes. Everything stays the same. No big risks, no big changes, because it interprets safety as staying alive. So even though we're miserable at our job, let's not quit our job because, oh my God, then we're going to be desolate, right? Yeah. Or even though we're not happy in this relationship, let's just stay because at least we know the relationship. At least we know what we're in for versus starting from scratch and whatever else. Yeah. So it gives us these ideas, but it does this with everything. So even like, let's not go live on IG because what if nobody shows up when I go live? Or let's not do a LinkedIn live because what if nobody shows up? You're not going to die if nobody shows up. But the feelings, right? What the brain is telling you is like, oh, but it's going to feel like you're failing. And that feeling might kill you. It's not actually going to kill you, but it feels what some people call like an ego death. The death of your ego, right? The feeling in the body is similar sometimes. It can be a similar feeling. Like people have panic attacks, right? People have anxiety attacks. People have, you just feel overwhelmed, all of that. All of that is the brain saying, let's just stay in our little box because in our box, we're happy. But are we really happy? Most people, you do some work with them, will acknowledge that they're not really happy in the box either. That's why they have the goal. That's somewhere outside the box, right? Yeah. So what you may start to realize is that in the safety box, there's going to be pain. And in going for the goal out here in jumping off the bridge with no parachute, that's the feeling, right? There's also pain. By the way, there's also moments of joy in the box. And there's also moments of joy in jumping off the bridge. Moments of joy, moments of joy, moments of pain, moments of pain. So what do you want to do? That's your choice, right? Either way, there's pain. Either way, there's joy. Levels, we can learn to like manage how we interpret pain, what we do, how we deal with it, how we regulate our nervous system. You can learn that, right? You can learn to bring yourself back to center. You can learn to let go of emotions that no longer serve you or shift through them or dissolve limiting beliefs. Like these are all things that you can learn to do. But either way, there's going to be pain. Either way, there's going to be joy. So when somebody comes to me and says like, well, I want to reach my goal so that I can be happy. I say, yeah, you know, chances are you're going to reach the goal and there's going to be moments of happiness, but I guarantee you there's going to be moments of pain again, even after you've reached your goal. Because we're having a human experience with all the stuff in it. And there's no way we can predict exactly what's going to happen. So the game is not, so we're going to move into confidence and strategy. So I want you to position strategy correctly for all of you guys. The game is not the right strategy. I just need the right piece of the puzzle, okay? It might feel like that, like I just need the right piece of the puzzle to make my goal happen or make my business happen or whatever your goal is. But as soon as we find it, it's going to feel a little bit like, oh yeah, I found the right piece. And then the whole game's going to change again. Look at how much the economy has changed in 3 months. What was literally working in November of last year is no longer working. The game is not the piece of the puzzle. Your brain's going to tell you it's the piece of the puzzle. Let me just find the right little piece and let me put it in. The game is you recognizing who you really are and then being willing to move the pieces of the puzzle. And then as soon as you get them, okay, yay, and then they move again. And then be like, all right, we're back to playing the game. Yeah. And that my happiness does not depend on the pieces of the puzzle. There's going to be moments of either happiness or joy, no matter happiness, joy, pain, frustration, anger, all those feelings, no matter what's happening. Those are just the pieces of the puzzle, right? Yeah. And we can learn to play it. But I do want you guys to have hope of like playing the game. You can learn how to play the game, but it comes from step one. I'm not the game. That's how you learn to win the game. Step one. The game is the doing of life. I'm committed and attached to something more powerful, right? I'm the field, the quantum field, you could even call it, since we've talked about quantum physics. All right, I'm gonna go back to sharing the screen and our next process. So we talked about what are all the ways in which your brain tried to sabotage you today. What are 3 ways your brain is going to try to sabotage your goal? So I want you to look at your goal, the goal we're working on for today. What are 3 ways you know already that your brain is going to try to sabotage your goal? Thinking about what are the ways in which my brain is going to try to stop me from reaching my goal? Sit for a moment and think about that. And then I'm going to have a couple of you guys share what opens up for you. What are 3 ways in which my brain is going to try to sabotage me or stop me from reaching my goal? Ways in which it's going to tell me, like things that you already know. We all know our excuses, right? Most of us have 2 or 3 that are like the same ones that keep popping up. 2 or 3 that are the same in their energy level. Okay, who wants to share? 2 or 3 ways where you know your brain is already on its way to stopping you from reaching your goal. You're also going to need to share your goal. So start by sharing your goal and then the 2-3 ways that your brain is going to try to stop you. Maybe I'll call on some of you if you don't raise your hand. But I really want to get into what is your goal. So let's start with Marta, because I see you, Marta. And maybe we can go to, I see Monica and Omaira.
Yes. What I wrote is the way my brain will try to sabotage me is by overanalyzing. That's something it's good at. Over this, should I do it this way? Should I do that? Should I talk to that person? All that, and then fear. Oh,
Yes.
no one is gonna call me back, or this, and then doubts. I think they're interconnected, but those are the 3 that came up for me.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. That's so beautiful. Just straight out and honest, right? The fear of I'm not going to get to the results, which has to do with your belief system around fear, what you believe to be valuable or not in how you're spending your time, right? Yeah, good catching of the brain. So what are you going to do, Martha, when your brain offers you those thoughts? Oh, no one's going to call you back anyways. What are you going to say to your brain?
Yeah. Well, now because of all the work that I've been doing with you, Wendy, is I'm in the awareness now, and I'm catching those thoughts and coming back to center. And something that I'm learning is that something that you said is 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. So meaning just, when I'm having those fearful thoughts, the analyzing, when I'm having that is just coming back and just closing my eyes and just like breathe and get out of those, the analyzing, the fearfulness and the doubt.
Beautiful, Martha. So what you're talking about is step 1, right? And we learned this in Inspired Action, is catch the brain. First thing you want to do is catch it. Catch it being the 6-year-old, or catch it being the sabotager. Just even calling it out. It's kind of like, you know, the elephant in the room. The moment we say, hey, there's an elephant in the room. The moment you say, hey, brain, now you're like over here watching your brain. You've called out your brain. You're like, hey, brain, I see what you're doing. I see you overanalyzing, and I see you feeling the fear, right? Yeah, or you're bringing fear into our body. So just the calling it out oftentimes is enough to bring awareness. Oh, that's not who I am. It's not really who I am. It's this other thing that's like, hey, brain, I see you. Who's that? That's who I really am, right? Yeah, beautiful. But here's what I want you to do, and this is good for all of you, is what are you actually going to tell your brain in that moment? So let's use the overanalyzing one,
Mhm.
where you go into overanalyzing. Yeah. What do you want to say? Let me ask it this way first, because the overanalyzing is coming from a belief.
Mm.
What is the belief that you have that has you go to overanalyzing as a strategy?
The belief is because when I'm over analyzing things, is I'm saying, okay, I should do this way or that or this or what if it doesn't work? All this. So I think I'm gonna say I'm not trusting me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're second guessing yourself.
Yeah, second guessing myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there might also be a little bit of
Mm.
if I find the right information.
Mm.
Find the right information. That's a little bit of like if I just find the right puzzle piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is okay, except we know find the right puzzle piece for a little while, but the game keeps changing. So there's no right puzzle piece. The game is changing now more than ever. This is why this work, this transformational work, is so much more important now than it was even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Because it's really obvious. It's becoming more obvious to all of us that, oh crap, the pieces, it used to really matter if you went to college or not. Now it matters less. The billionaires none of them completed college. So the rules of the knowing, right, is changed. Hence the doubt around like, okay, I just have to know more information. But you hit it on the nail. It's trusting. So what are you going to tell your brain the moment it goes into, let's just go back to analyzing. Let's find more information. What about this? Let's take this into account. Let's do that, or more research, or, right? What do you want to tell your brain in that moment, Martha?
Stop. I'm gonna tell my brain, stop, brain. Things are working out. Things are going the way they're supposed to be going.
Okay. Things are going the way they're supposed to be going.
Yeah.
Do you feel that in your body?
Now that I said it, like my heart started palpitating a little faster.
Say it again.
When I said things will work, I don't know what I said, but basically things will work out when they need to work out. And like my heart started palpitating a little faster.
Okay. Say the belief again out loud, and I want you to feel it in your body. Say this new belief that you're starting to develop right now. Things will work out when they're supposed to work out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Things will work out when they are supposed to work out.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I fully believe that, what did you feel? And 1 being like, I don't believe that at all. What number are you at?
7, 6, 7, around there.
Oh, all right. Okay. Okay. Things will work out. I would probably
Fortunate.
Yeah, shorten it to things will work out. Yeah, things will work out. Because you can feel that in your body quicker, less of like when they're supposed to work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because it provides you with another place to analyze. Like, what is it supposed to, right? You could go into what things are supposed to happen, not supposed to happen. I make them happen. Like my brain immediately tells me, no, I make everything happen. It's not when it's supposed to. So I have a different interpretation of it from my belief system. But yes, whatever works for you that actually helps you stop the overanalyzing. Yeah. Guys, the reason this is important is what we're doing right now is being proactive, which is actually one of the places that leads to clarity, calmness, and confidence. One of the ways that we actually build confidence is by being proactive about managing our brain. So what I just did with Marta was proactively, since we know her brain's going to tell her brain's going to go into overanalyzing, right? You know what you just wrote down, how your brain's going to try to stop you. For sure, your brain's going to try to stop you. Your brain tried to stop you today. It's going to try to stop you all the time. And learning to manage it, it's a lot of work. I mean, it can be fun because you learn to catch it, right? You learn that you're not your brain, but it does require a level of like discipline around it, especially because the brain has been with us for how many years? How many years have you had your brain? Yes. How many years have you been thinking this way? This new way of thinking. I'm not my brain. I'm not my thoughts. I choose my thoughts. I choose my feelings. How long have you been practicing that? Not that long, probably. Even me and Victoria, we've been practicing it longer, and it's still freaking hard. It's still like certain things have gotten easier, certain beliefs. I'm like, oh, I can catch my brain. Other ones, I'm still in like, damn it, that's a hard one for me, man. I still catch myself with certain beliefs that I'm like, all right, I got to manage the brain. So what we're doing right now is proactive work, and it's really powerful. This is part of why Inspired Action is powerful and the mastermind is powerful, because before you get in the hole, let's train you when your brain gives you that thought to stop your brain, right? Before you start going down the rabbit hole of this is too hard, or what if nobody shows up, or they're going to say no anyways. And then, I mean, most of the time when you go down that rabbit hole, where do you end up? What happens? Yeah, Marta, when you go down the rabbit hole, where do you end up?
Exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah, you have two really powerful ones, which are the overanalyzing and then this fear, right? Almost this fear of failure. Like both of those combined will just leave you in no action, no energy to do anything. Just overwhelmed and exhausted and anxious and like back in the box. And then we live there, sometimes for years. Because I popped my head out and it was really uncomfortable. So I popped my head back in. So you learn to live out here. You can actually learn to live out here in your growth edge. And one of the things that's really valuable is this proactiveness, okay? This like, before my brain goes to the left, I'm going to set up some ways in which I want to speak to my brain that's going to support me. Yeah. Okay. We're going to do a process in small groups next. Yay. Yes. So if you're not going to be able to speak, let me know right now if you're not able to speak, because then I'll just put everybody that's in Windows in small groups versus like Shonda, can you share? Michelle, I don't know if you're able to speak. I'll just put you guys in groups and whoever's able to talk will be able to talk because I realize I'm not going to get to speak with everybody. All right. There's two things I just decided I want you to do in small group. Let me share this next tool around infinite possibilities. Okay, this tool that we just covered with catching the brain, this is a proactive tool. You can call it the proactive tool. Before my brain sabotages me, since I know it's going to do that, I'm going to set myself up with some ways to talk to my brain when it does that. Step one is always catching the brain. If you don't catch the brain, we can't talk to it, right? You have to catch it first. And then step two is, what are you going to say when it tells you, for example, these are ways the brain tries to sabotage us. There's not enough time. It's too hard. They're going to say no anyways. I don't know enough. I'm not enough. I'm not tall enough, skinny enough, rich enough, pretty enough, smart enough. I mean, you fill in the enough. I'm not enough, whatever this is, right? That's a big one. It's all of it, like it's going to take too much time, or that's too scary, or everyone's going to laugh at me, or what if I fail? All ways in which the brain tries to sabotage you. So what are you going to say back to it? Okay, write that question down. What am I going to say back to the brain? This is one of the things that I want you to share in your small groups. The other thing that I want you to share in your small groups is part of the strategy you're going to use to hit your goal. Let's talk about infinite possibility. You now discovered that you're actually connected to the quantum field, and that what you think about, you call in the quantum field. There's just all these possibilities of things that could happen. And then you, with your focus, your energy, your vibration, your commitment, call in. In the strategy category, or the do part of be, do, have, there's infinite possibilities, guys, on how we make something happen. I want you to come up with at least 2 more doingnesses that come from your group. So I want you to share with your group your goal, what you came up with in the doing category. And I want you to ask them, is there anything else that you feel would be valuable for me to do? And I bet you anything, somebody's going to say something that you haven't even thought of. That you're like, oh, I didn't realize that that was a possibility. Because you're looking at your life through your little tiny sliver, right? Versus this wide range of possibilities. One of the stories I always like to share with everybody about this idea of infinite possibilities is the study that they did, this research study where they took a long stick. You might have heard this story. They took a long stick, pictured like kind of like a baseball bat, but all the same like length of wood, like a long wood stick, right? That's thick, the same length as a baseball bat. And they showed it to a group of adults, 100 adults. And they said, please come up with what this is. And the adults came up with a list of stuff that this could be, this long thing. Their list was like 30 things. Oh, that's a bat. That's a holder for a window, like a window seal holder, right? That's a, whatever in construction people use like to hold up in construction. They took the same long stick and showed it to 100 kids and said, what do you guys think this is? How long do you think was the list of what the kids came up with? Thousands. Like the kids were like, came up with thousands of ideas. Because we're like, oh, that's a toothpick for a dinosaur. Like they just came, they were thinking so outside the box, right? Million possibilities of what this long thing could be. That is valuable. Because in the realm of all possibility, what could this thing be? When you're starting to develop strategy is super important. The opening of your mind. And really what I just want you to have is an experience of what's possible. What's possible when you have a community brain, a collective genius, that opens up your brain to, oh, there's other possibilities than what I see possible. Usually within ourselves, we only see 10% of possibilities. 10%. It's another 90% we don't even have access to because we don't even know the questions to ask. We don't even have the languaging to ask these other questions that exist in a whole nother realm that we're like, never even saw that as possible. That's possible? Yeah, 100% possible, right? It didn't even dawn on us. Like for a long time, I didn't know it was possible to not be your thoughts. It's like, well, my thoughts, I mean, this is just, I am my brain. No. You can start to see the possibility that opens up. Yeah. All right. So here's what you're going to do in small groups. I'm going to repeat it again and I'm going to ask you a question and then I'm going to break you guys up into small groups. And I'll tell you the time and everything. What you're going to do in small groups is 2 questions and I'll make sure I broadcast this in the question. Number 1, you're going to share what you're going to say to your brain when it tries to sabotage you on your goal. Number 2, you're going to share your goal, obviously. What are you working towards? Who do you need to be to reach that goal? And then what are your ideas in the doing category? And then you're going to ask for feedback. What are any other ideas around the doingness that people have that they've seen work, or maybe they have a similar goal to you, or ideas. And I want your brain to expand into the infinite possibility. Infinite possibility. There's probably 100 different ways to reach your goal. We're usually thinking very small. Oh, there's just this way. There's only social media. No, you could build an entire professional business off of social media. There are people that do it all the time. Oh, there's only word of mouth. No, you don't just have to use word of mouth either. There's infinite possibilities. There's just so many different ways to reach your goal. I once gave somebody an assignment of come up with 100 different ways to reach your goal. It was a lot of work, but they did it. That's a good assignment. because it stretches your brain. And it's not about, well, in reality, Wendy, you know, in reality, the stick, it really isn't a toothpick for a dinosaur. There are no dinosaurs. So why would I even come up with that idea in the real life that doesn't serve me? No, the purpose of this exercise is to expand your brain. Infinite possibilities. The purpose of this exercise is that you start to form a new belief around the possibilities there are to reach your goal in the doing category. There are like certainly 20, 30 different ways you could reach your goal. And you could try some, and then if they don't work out, we move on. We keep going, right? Or we tweak, we evaluate and pivot. We evaluate, bring it back in, tweak, tweak. You can start to see that it's never the doing. There's infinite ways to do, and infinite like mentors and teachers and AI and Google and University of YouTube. And like, there's so many in the do category. There's infinite possibility, right? That's what I want you to have an experience in. And then also to start catching your brain. So when it goes down this road, I will tie all this into confidence. Okay. Because that's our third C that we're going to talk about, confidence. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to break you up into groups of 3 or 4. I'm going to break you up into groups of 4. You're going to be in this small group for 20 to 25 minutes. I'll see how everybody's doing, but I'd like to be back together before 2:30. So I can go into the final little story I want to share with you guys about confidence, and then talking about next steps. So does anybody have any questions about what we're doing in our small groups? Does somebody want to repeat back to me what we're doing so that I make sure everybody heard it correctly? This is something I do sometimes, is have everybody, as I assign you into your breakout rooms. Yes, Miss Monica, do you want to repeat back what I announced to everybody? As the 2 questions I want you to answer.
What is your goal? And come up with 2 ways. You're going to say your goal, 2 ways of doing your goal, and then asking the group to brainstorm on your behalf possibilities that you may not have thought of.
Yes, and asking for ways that you may not have thought of. Exactly. Beautiful. I also want you to share your way of being to reach your goal. So, you know, when you did the being work, you can share one way of being that's really going to support you with reaching your goal. Whatever you think that biggest way of being is, that's going to support you in hitting your goal. I think that would be really valuable too. Okay, is everybody clear on what we're going to do? We're going to spend about 20 minutes in breakout room. That gives you plenty of time. If there's only, I'm going to put 4 of you in each room, but maybe only 2 of you really participating or 3 of you participating, that's okay. You can divide up the time however you feel, you know, is best for you, or however you feel works for you. This is one of the most important parts of our work together. It's collaborating with other brains, right? We talked about mirror neurons today. This is our opportunity to be in this mirror neuron space with each other. Okay, I'm going to open the rooms, and then we'll be back in this room, the big room, at 2:20. So you're going to see a little box that opens up. Welcome back. Welcome back. By far, one of the most valuable aspects of being in group containers is your ability to connect with other people's brains. And in the mastermind specifically, being around people who've created really big things, like being able to ask a millionaire what their beliefs are, right? Or how they think, or somebody who's like doubled their income or tripled their income in a year, which we actually have in the mastermind. It kind of blows my own mind sometimes. But you can do that in entrepreneurship. You can double your business in a year because it's possible, right? To grow and expand that way. Or just somebody who's like trying to make it through their corporate job, picking their brain. So the ability to pick everyone's brain and the collective brain that comes together, kind of this collective genius when we're all together in a group with powerful women who are also getting that it's an internal job, right? Maybe because for a long time we tried to do all the external work and got exhausted. And we're like, I'm burning out from all the doingness. There's got to be something else besides keeping track of the numbers and the to-do list and the team and all that. And, crap, what do I do? Or what do I do if I'm sick? Or like something happens, right? Or my mom is sick, I need to be with her. Or my child is sick, I need to be with them. Or my car breaks down or whatever. If I can't do in my business or in my career or in my life, what happens? There's those moments where you gotta go back to, oh, it's who I'm being that really generates my life. And yes, there's some doing also, but it's okay. The doing can always be solved. The doing can always be solved. The being can't outsource that. Can't outsource, can't hire your assistant to do the being work. Can't hire your partner to be who you need them to be in the business. Can't outsource the being work. You can outsource the doing, right? You can even outsource the having. You can give other people a great life. But the being in your business, that's always you, or your career. I say business a lot, guys, because most of you are entrepreneurs, but in your relationships, in your life, right? It's the same thing. All right, beautiful. I'm so glad you guys got to share. If you didn't get to pick everybody's brain and you want feedback, please give them your phone number or exchange information so that everybody has everybody's like email address or whatever. So you can, because you can always ask for feedback. You can always share your website and ask, what do you guys think? Or here's an idea to bring in 10 new clients. What do you think? Right? Whatever. You can always get feedback. Yeah. All right. We're going to go to confidence, and then I'm going to do a summary of what we've done. And then I'm going to open it up to question and answer session. So let me go to sharing my screen again. I'm going to talk a little bit about confidence. And really, I'm just going to share the story with you. So the third C that we've been exploring is confidence, right? Clarity, calmness, or centeredness, and then confidence. And some of you talked about confidence being the emotion that you want to bring forth, or the way of being that you want to bring forth. Yeah. And confidence is definitely needed. And we're not always going to be confident. Just know that. Even at my level, I'm not always 100% confident. When I'm trying something new, I'm not as confident. I'm like, okay, never done this before. So there's a bit of like me trying to learn or whatever, right? But here's the definition that I love to talk about in terms of confidence. So many years ago, I was at, do you guys remember the O magazine back in the day when there was the O magazine? Oprah's magazine, yeah. So I went to see the O magazine live. I think this was 2005 or 2006. And it was at the LA Convention Center. And on stage was Oprah with, I've been in the same room as Oprah a couple of times. This is one of the times where I was in the same room with her. And next to her was Martha Beck. Martha Beck is the first ever life coach that I ever learned about. Martha Beck was Oprah's life coach, first life coach ever, right? And she was on the Oprah show in probably 1989 or something. I was like 10 years old or 11 years old. I don't remember how old I was, but I remember seeing, and then her little title under her name, life coach. And I was like, what's that? I was young, but even then it like dawned on me. So we're in this big room with 1,000 people. 1,000 people. Yes. This is the biggest audience I've ever spoken in front of. And I went to the mic. They asked, does anybody have questions from the audience, right? And I was like, oh crap, this is my opportunity. This was 2015? No, 2005, 2006. That's what I said. 2005, 2006. So remember, it was around the time I got married. I got married in 2006. So around that time. I was already a coach. And I was like, oh crap, this is my opportunity to ask Martha Beck a question. Oprah's coach. Love Oprah. As a coach, more interested in Martha Beck, who coached Oprah, right? Like, wow, this is the person behind some of Oprah's like ability to see who she really is and generate all these results. So I went to the line with the microphone, 1,000 people. They only chose the first three people to ask their question. And I was one of those three. So I got up to the mic and I said, hi guys, my question is for Martha Beck. Martha, I'm a fellow coach. Just the fact that I got to say that out loud in front of 1,000 people, right? And I'm like, I'm in the same category as her. I'm really didn't feel like I was in the same category with her, but saying that out loud, guys, was a being activation in me that allowed me to be here with you guys. How many years later? 17 years later, 18 years later from that moment? I think it was 2006. Anyways, got up to the mic, said, I'm a fellow coach. And the question I get often is, how do I become more confident? This is a question that almost every client at some point asks me or is trying to trigger in themselves confidence. How do we build our confidence? That was my question. Do you know what she said? Does anybody know what she said? Because some of you may have heard this story already. Does anybody remember what she said? No. Awesome. None of you know the story. Okay. I've told this story on the podcast before and in other places. She says to me, well, young lady, I'm wondering if this is on video somewhere too. She said, confidence comes from doing something that feels impossible. That's it. Okay. I mean, I wanted to ask a follow-up question. I couldn't, obviously, because then they were like, great, thank you so much. We're moving on to. Confidence comes from doing something that seems impossible. Doing something that feels like so out of your box, out of your comfort box, that it feels like, whoa, it's going to be really hard. The impossible feels really hard and impossible until it's not, until you're like, oh crap, I'm doing it. And usually the way that happens is you have your head down, practicing this work, self-management, taking action, self-management, taking action. Or we can say be, do, be, do. And then the result starts to generate, right? In the quantum field, you're calling in the thing and it starts to become real. People around you change. The people you call into your life might change. The places you go might change. The networks you're in might change. The types of clients you work with might change, right? But slowly it starts to generate. And then this is how it usually happens. We hit the goal and we're over here with our head down. Be, do, be, do, be, do. And then at some moment, something happens where it stops us. Sometimes in a coaching room where your coach says, hey, did you see what happened? And you're like, oh, yeah. I think I might have just started my business. Or I think I might have hit that number that I keep saying I want to hit. Or I think I might have increased my income by some crazy percentage. Or like it happens after your head is down, you're in the do, be, do work, being, managing yourself. It's not like you hit it and then all of a sudden, 20 balloons show up at your house and the sky opens and there's like fireworks. No. All of a sudden you realize what I thought was impossible, maybe 2 years ago or a year ago or 10 years ago, or certainly 30 years ago, I thought was impossible is now my reality. Right? Like could 15-year-old version of you have seen this version of you? Did 15-year-old version of you think maybe this was impossible? Maybe not. Some 15-year-old versions of us are like, I'm gonna kick ass in the world. I talked to some people that are like, no, 15-year-old knew I was gonna do this, I was gonna be this amazing. 15-year-old me did not know this was good. I was gonna be this amazing. But we make the impossible happen. That's where real confidence comes from, guys. Making the impossible happen. And let me tell you, it's very difficult to do by yourself. In fact, no one really does it by themselves. Everyone does it in community, mentors, coaches, support, because you've seen how powerful your human brain is. It's going to try to stop you each step of the way. It even tries to stop you in acknowledging that you crossed the line and acknowledging that you've achieved some amazing things. When we sit in celebration calls and inspired action, people are like, I don't know what to celebrate. What? Because it's uncomfortable, right? To like celebrate ourselves, to celebrate. And yeah, I did launch that thing. I got rejected by somebody. Yay! You had to put yourself out there to get rejected. Like that took so much courage, right? To put yourself out there and get rejected. So I share this with you because that's really where confidence comes from. Okay, let's talk about your toolbox. We're going to do a little summary of all the tools that I covered, and then I'm going to open it up to Q&A. I know we're almost at time, so I respect anybody who has to go or whatever your time schedule is. But yes, thank you, Manuela or Mandela. I'm sorry, Monica shared this. It's a quote by Nelson Mandela, right? Yeah, it always seems impossible until it's done. That's right. It always seems impossible until it's done. And it's absolutely 100% possible for you to make the impossible happen. Of course, it requires as much support as you can have. So I'm going to do a summary of what we did together, and then I'm going to open it up to Q&A. I'm just going to say this for the couple of you that aren't currently in any of my coaching containers. I'm going to be sending you an email, Omaira, Brenda, Maria Lopez, and Wanda, inviting you to jump, oh, and Shonda too, I realize you're not in currently. Inviting you to come into a coaching space with me. So I'll let you know the latest details around Inspired Action and around the Mastermind, because both of them are open right now, Inspired Action and the Mastermind, and booking a call with me. Booking a call with me because I want to interview you. I'm really only interested in people who are seriously committed to their goals. Like you are real about wanting to hit your goal. If you're real about wanting to hit your goal, I can absolutely help you. And yes, it's going to be work. Like with anything. And is it worth it? Box or outside the box? Box or outside the box? And it's up to you, right? No judgment, by the way. My husband lives in his comfort box. He's very happy there. He's done all the same work and he's like, yeah, no, don't, yeah, not interested in my growth edge. Well, being married to me is enough growth edge for him, but what I mean is he ain't trying to build anything. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna support you. He's trying to build our family. That's what he wants to build. So some people, right? What I mean by that is it's okay if you want to stay in your comfort box. Just your comfort box isn't going to get you a goal that's outside of that, right? If you want to build something, yeah, it's going to require this work. And we also have a lot of fun. Okay. Toolbox. We talked about clarity, calm, and confidence. Please take a moment in your journal right now to write what opened up for you in each of these three categories. These could be tools that I shared, and I'm going to go over all the tools. Oh, I meant write as in write down, not write as in correct, sorry. Down for each of these, what you're taking with you from this training. What opened up for you? What did you discover? What was new territory maybe that you want to make sure you document, right? In the area of clarity, what became clear to you? In the area of calmness, centering yourself, just the importance of being still. Maybe that's enough. That's a big one for calm. And then confidence, in the space of confidence. What's opened up for you in connection to your confidence, or what's a tool that you can use for confidence? I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to write that down, and then we're going to go to a little summary of my tools. The reason I do it in this order, guys, is because I want you to tap into your own inner wisdom before I give you the tools that I just shared with you, right? Which, yes, are powerful tools, but you already know some of them. Chances are you're writing them down right now. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. And then I'm going to go over the tools that I shared with you, like a summary. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for writing that down. You can also rewatch the replay of this later on to spark any other intuitive hits that you may have had. One of the things that I really value in this whole process is rereading and rewriting your journal. So whatever you wrote in your journal from today, going back 2 weeks from now, right? 2 weeks from now, coming back to your journal, reading it, and then summarizing. Sometimes I just take a highlighter and I highlight. It's like going back into the study of yourself and highlighting what really landed for you. Here are the tools that we covered together today. So tools that I talked about today, and we either did a process for this or an interaction of some sort. Be, do, have. You have an understanding, right? I'm sure you had an understanding of be, do, have before. We did some diving in. We also talked about how be, do, have has to do with neuroscience. We talked about how be, do, have has to do with quantum physics. Being work, right? What are the 5 entry points for who you're being, right? And which is the right door? Trick question. There is no right door. You can enter through whichever one works for you. They all lead to the same room, the who I'm being room, right? Who do I get to be? Remember the feeling. Remember the feeling. Remember the feeling is the exercise that we did about calling in a feeling. You can do this with any feeling that you need. So yes, confidence. This is actually a confident booster, but you can also do it with patience, love, compassion, empathy, any feeling that you need to call in, assertiveness. If you need to be assertive version of you, right? When's the last time I was really assertive? Calling that version up. So it's a way for you to access feelings in your body. So you bring those forth. Yeah. If you're a person who makes a lot of decisions or you overanalyze or you're in your brain a lot, or you still have this thought that I just need to find the right thing, this is a really good exercise for you. For self-trust. When's the last time I trusted myself and it worked out? So I trusted myself and it worked out. Going back to that feeling. Intuition work. I gave you a series of questions, right? A question where you ask your body, what does it really mean? Your heart, what's calling out to you? Yeah. This intuition work, it can be done in lots of different ways. I chose to do it through questions this time because we had done the remember the feeling work. But intuition is really about self-trust work. You start slow and you build trust with yourself. Start slow and you build trust with yourself. We talked about infinite possibilities, right? And that in the do category, there's an infinite way to reach your goal. It's never going to happen. You're looking at a slither of that. And just that perspective is huge. Keep that in mind. Be a demand for more possibilities, more ideas. Meaning ask people, keep asking people, get ideas, keep, turn, right? Until you figure it out. And by then, you'll figure it out for a little while and the thing will change again. And then you got to go again. So you start to learn that there's never one right answer. There's just a million different ways. I just got to find a way for right now that works and then, keep finding ways. Proactive brain. We talked about how to catch your brain ahead of time, right? And you can do this by asking yourself, how's my brain going to try to stop me? Or for those of you with ADHD, you can also say, how's my ADHD going to try to stop me? Or how's my brain going to try to sabotage me? If you do it proactively, you can train your brain. 1, you're not your brain, catch it, right? And then 2, what are you going to say to it? That's important. What am I going to say to it when it tells me, let's just go research some more, or let's go back to school. Let's get another, certificate, or we just need more information, or I just need, the right money Excel sheet or whatever. Or this is my favorite one of people with ADHD. It's always, I just need the right app to help me manage my time. So what are you going to say to the brain when it tries to do that for you? Proactive brain management. Oh, that was what I meant, proactive brain management. And lastly, and this is just the reality of all this work, is remember who you really are. Who are you really? You're not the game. You are this being that's playing the game. And the game is all our circumstances, everything in the world, everything, the economy, your business, the car you drive, the house you live in, your relationships, your identities as a mom, sister, brother, wife, whatever, girlfriend, all of that are circumstances. They're not who you really are. Who you really are is who you were before all of this and who you're going to be after all of this. The more you connect with that, the more you're connected to the quantum field, this place where no one can hurt you and all things are possible. And then creating on this playing field becomes much easier. You're just like, okay. Keep in mind, science has proved this, right? This is not just Wendy saying this. This is actual science. Thank you, everyone, for making it. You survived. You made it to the end. You're here at 3 o'clock. Thank you for spending your Sunday with me. This training was really came from Q1 sucked for everyone, by the way. Everybody had a horrible Q1, not just businesses, but educators, people in so many, right? What's happening in our community is horrible. What's happening to the nation is horrible. And I needed a reminder of, okay, why am I doing this work again? To teach this. I also needed kind of a wake-up call for myself of like, this is the time to double down on this work. Because this work is based on the premise of I am not the game. I'm not my circumstances. And the more I can distinguish between me and the circumstances, the less these things matter in the big picture. And the more effect I can have on them if I want. That is freedom. That is freedom. That means, oh, well, whatever happens tomorrow, it's okay. Even if there's a big earthquake or we end up in World War III or whatever, those are all circumstances. I manage me. My thoughts, my beliefs, my feelings, those are the things that really matter. My intuition, my intentions in the world, and those are up to me.